Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video here on the GothamChess YouTube channel, or as we are more popularly known by the millions of chess fans around the globe, the Magnus Carlsen PR channel. Magnus Carlsen has done it again. All right? It's been a while since he's played in an elite tournament worth covering, but he just did. The Chess.com Open, April 2026. This is one of the qualification tournaments to the Esports World Cup, which will happen this year in August in 2026. I would like to share something with you. I would also like to show you about 10 different games that he played. Magnus played an opening for the first time, at least that I could see on his Chess.com account. Magnus has also now won 15 tournaments that he has played in and finished in a regular traditional chess format. He has won every tournament that he has played in outside of freestyle chess for 688 days. The last time he played a regular format chess tournament, finished it, and didn't win it was Norway Chess 2024, which was June. It has nearly been 2 full calendar years. This is madness. Of course, he plays in some silly random Title Tuesdays or freestyle and he doesn't win, but regular chess, bro has straight up been running it now for 2 straight years. More like 15 straight years, but yeah, I mean, it's completely mind-blowing. Now, you can fact-check me. I did extensive research before I recorded this video. I would like to show you a bunch of games. He played games against Shant Sargsyan. He played against Vincent Keymer. I don't know why the pop-up was there. He played against Denis Lazavik. I mean, he's gonna win. He's gonna win most of these games, and I would like to show them to you. Okay, here we go. Magnus opens with d4. Then I'm going to show you a game where he played this absurd variation of the Sicilian defense one time. He's playing Shant Sargsyan here. These games are 10-minute and 0-second bonus, the most popular time control in the world, actually. And in this game, Magnus played a kingside fianchetto. He played knight f3 like this. He's looking for a short castle. Black in this game tried to strike in the center and take the pawn back like this. And so white now generates a little bit of an initiative against the queen because the queen had to move multiple times. So he moves like this. And now with his bishop pointed in this direction, he begins advancing this a-pawn, because what that a-pawn will do is potentially go to a6 and pressure or be traded off, and then the rook and the knight will activate, and that a-pawn could be a little bit weak. So that's exactly how Magnus is going to play this. He pushes the pawn. Black can stop it whenever he wants. He doesn't, though. He opts to just ignore the pawn completely. And with Magnus now jumping into this square on d5, should anything be traded here, white will look to establish the pawn on c3, because that will stop the black knight from coming forward. It will also block the bishop. Black might try to put this knight on c4 instead, and Magnus will try to utilize the bishop pair. He'll probably move the queen out of the way, put the bishop here, and do the typical kind of Catalan bishop diagonal pressure to that side of the board. So bishop takes, pawn takes. He now has the bishop pair. There's the move c3 that I promised. I actually haven't looked at the game. I'm just kind of winging it, but I have a general sense. I have seen the other 8 games. This game I did not see. Queen c4, queen d1, you see he's just stabilizing the queen side. Black is getting a little bit of counterplay, but Magnus is more than happy to trade off a bishop that quite literally never moved. It just slept the whole game for a knight that put in a lot of work, because now black has these ghost moves, you know, that sort of never occurred. But then black did a nice job equalizing. He grabbed a pawn, and the game got very tactical as black took the 2 queenside pawns. Rook c2 was played, and now a pretty amazing sacrifice of queen takes d4. If you take the queen with white, black will take your rook, and black will have a rook and a knight and 2 pawns, which is a lot. Or you could do this, and then you enter an endgame where you just dominate with your rooks. And that is exactly what Magnus did. Shant missed an opportunity to maybe equalize. Magnus, obviously, with an exchange up in a rook endgame, does not need any more chances. Beautiful technique here. He sacrifices the rook for the knight, and the black rook now is just really sad. It's going to be playing really sad defense. The king and the pawns can come forward. You will reposition the rook. There's the king moving forward, and Magnus breaks apart black's pawns. Rook e6, bishop b5, d6, absolute and utter domination. This pawn's going through, this pawn's going through, and maybe that pawn will go through as well if you win the g-pawn. And yeah, smooth sailing, something like a 96% accuracy game. And this is just your appetizer. I'm going to give you a couple of more as we go on. Magnus was playing the Sicilian defense in this tournament. Always a pleasure to see him play elite competition. Well, I was going to say, and sort of lock in and try his hardest, but he doesn't even have to lock in and try his hardest. He's going to win the tournament playing on an iPad. It looked like he was just at some sunny destination somewhere. But yeah, good for him. I really like getting in some sun. This is the Rossalimo Sicilian. This is a variation where white damages black's pawn structure and plays this very, is esoteric the right word? I don't know, but it's this very like alien-like type of structure where you try to suppress black from, you know, getting any sort of mobility. Black plays like this and then gets a little bit of mobility, takes on d6. The structure is kind of hideous, but Magnus is able to establish the knight on d4. He is sacrificing a pawn because knight takes c2 is possible. White doesn't like that very much, although actually apparently that was the best way to proceed. Bishop e6, b3, and now from here, Magnus solidifies his king, plays bishop e6, goes for a trade, and is sort of just waiting. His opponent at some point needs to play for a win. Very nice here. Look at this. The king side is ripped open for black, but there's actually no way to attack because this rook is patrolling. And not only patrolling, that king might be in more danger than this one. Because when you move your pieces, I'm going to get to play f4. I'm going to close out that side of the board. And, well, now you don't really have too much time to take back as my pawns go to e3 and f3, and this rook is always sliding over to g7, and Magnus survives. There is no mate here. He's up a bishop. He's going to get that queen all the way down, and this is game over, as queen b1 will be mate, and this will be a mate somewhere over here. You just can't defend yourself. Again, first game of the video. We go through this quick. Let's go. Let's pull up some big names. Magnus Carlsen versus Vincent Keymer. Fun fact, Vincent Keymer just won a tournament that Magnus Carlsen played in. Now, I understand you're going to say I cherry-picked the statistics because I am the #1 glazer, as the kids say, of Magnus Carlsen in the world. I would argue that that is a valiant argument. Yes, I would also argue that freestyle hardly can be considered as mainstream as classical rapid and blitz. It is trying, but I somehow don't think that shuffling, I mean, shuffling all these pieces at the beginning of every single game definitely leads to some interesting chess, but it's insanely unpredictable. Yeah, those are the only tournaments that he hasn't won. He hasn't won several of those, but he has won the championship. So he is still the champion of that format, although he lost an event in South Africa. He just didn't win the one in Germany. He got third place. Vincent just won a tournament, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, Vincent playing well, but now he has to play 10-minute chess against the guy who has run chess for 15 years. G3 on the board. The same variation that was played on September 4th, 2022, which at this point was 3.5 years ago, but that was the famous Magnus Hans Niemann game. The G3 Nimso going for bishop G2. Black in this game playing one of my favorite lines. I love this line. You just put your 2 pawns, put your knights, you play E5. I absolutely adore this pawn structure for black. I think it's excellent. Although Vincent never actually plays the move E5. He just plays like this, and then he targets white's double pawn. Very advanced play. And Magnus just sacks the pawn. So this is one of the key ideas of this opening with white, is that you can just give the pawn away. Black can't really take it. If black takes the pawn, he will give himself doubled isolated pawns. White's bishop will immediately have a target. And that is why black just chooses to keep the structure like this. Now Magnus tries to trade and improve his structure. And here, even the move c6 was very strong, but he went bishop g5. And then he played c6. And now that doubled pawn has walked all the way to c6 and is a major problem. It's taking away a lot of important squares. It's not easy to get rid of it. White can always play a4, a5. White can always play knight e2, and white will play e4 and e5 at some point. So white is threatening a million different things as that pawn is taking away space. It doesn't even matter. You can trade your bishop for the knight. These pieces are very poorly coordinated as well. White can play a4 and bishop f1, and then you can't move the knight or the bishop because they have to defend, right? They cannot move. The knight has to keep the bishop blocked. The bishop has to defend the knight. So it's an extremely unpleasant position. Vincent goes for some counterplay, and he actually gets the counterplay and has a better position, though. But the time, it's 10 minutes, 0-second bonus, and it is one of the most unforgiving formats that there is. Vincent does equalize, ultimately, and gets to a position where he has 3 to 4 minutes and has to play this rook endgame. Plays rook b8. Magnus plays king f3. But Magnus, I mean, he's not just tricky in middle games. He's tricky in endgames. Look at this. He's giving away a2. because he wants to infiltrate with his rook. Vincent doesn't take it. Magnus is like, go win my pawn. Vincent goes rook b3, rook c1, g4. I mean, there's no way Magnus is actually going to create winning chances here, right? Complete symmetry, totally locked position, rook c2, and there's the move g5. And there's our winning chance. We're looking to break open the side of the board and go rook g2. But if you stop us from going rook g2, I'm going to go rook b2, rook b5, or rook b7, or rook b8, and rook c8, or rook g8. Rap God. Pawn takes. Now we go rook g2. Now he goes rook e1. The king runs back. The pawns are traded, and apparently black is lost. Apparently black is lost. I have no idea how this freaking Norwegian wizard comes up with this way to win endgames, which is rooks and 6 pawns each. How the position, there is literally no pawn left to move. There is nothing left to move. If anything, black has the better rook. Black is threatening to take some pawns. You have to play passive. He has 1 pawn remaining. He is a literal anime villain. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Or protagonist, or hero. I don't know how you describe it. This man has 1 pawn. 1 pawn. 1 punch man, you know? And this little motif is good enough to break in, cause a little bit of confusion, and he sacrifices the rook. Not to deliver mate, not to win back a queen, not to attack the king. No! He sacrifices the rook because if you take it, the pawn promotes, and this rook can't stop it, and the king can't stop it. Bro is sacrificing rooks to promote pawns in the endgame. This man is redefining what a rook sacrifice is. Guys, I can't do this. I mean, I really can't do this, and yet I have the pleasure and the honor of continuing to do this. The way that this man beats people from these positions that are innocuous, that are ridiculous to lose, he had only one thing he could push, and it turned out to actually cause legitimate problems to black, and Vincent Keymer goes down. I'm going to show you one more game because they had a good match. It was very high level. They had another game that was an IMSO Indian. This time Magnus did not double his pawns. The last game, the way he just like took over the game completely just from an endgame was ridiculous. In this game, he has what are called hanging pawns, D and C versus E and B. He has the bishop pair. White will try to advance these pawns and maybe start a kingside attack. Maybe play a4, a5 if black allows, but probably Vincent is going to put the knight on a5 himself. Rook c8. Okay, he goes knight e7, also possible. And there we see the exact plan, right? So we have these bishops. Now we trade one of them, and this is very, very nice technique from Magnus. Now these pawns are rolling. They have the support of the pawns, and the bishop is out of the game. This little maneuver really makes things difficult for black because now white can put whatever piece they want on d4 and exert pressure either on f5 or on the queen side. And this is still a possibility, and then you break that, and if you get this pawn to take, these 2 pawns will walk up together, and I'm just going to keep clicking the forward arrow because, yeah, the way Magnus continues to apply pressure here is very nice. Vincent goes for the counterplay, but at the worst possible moment because the pawn just goes through. Magnus will probably, you know, if he watches this, he will be like, oh, I could have done a lot better. He could have, by his standards, absolutely. Here, the much better move was knight to h4. It's a very instructive move. It's just impossible for black to protect this pawn. Because if you go queen d7, you take your eye off the knight. At a minimum, I have this tactic. At a maximum, I have bishop d4, forcing the knight to go to h5. And the knight is just awful. I mean, it has to be protected like this. And then you go here and attack this. And then you go here and attack this. I mean, it's like the board is like a video game where every move is a combo. It's a multiple punch combination. It's just amazing. You know, the queen has to play defense. Now it's passive. Then you go bishop b2, queen c3. And you threaten to mate, like if the knight gets removed. Very instructive. By his standards, he probably does not do as good of a job as he would like, but Vincent accidentally blunders a piece. And, yeah, Magnus is good, and he's even better when he's up material. Queen h5, queen f5, rook d6. This is the end of the game. And, yeah, Magnus won. Now, again, this is just a video of like I said, this is the #1 home in the world of chess for positive PR for Magnus Carlsen. He played Denis Lazavik, who is the 3rd best speed player in the world, it seems, by all intents and purposes. It looks like now it's Carlsen, Firouzja, Denis Lazavik, because Denis Lazavik beat Hikaru in the Speed Chess Championship. Now, 10+0 is a different format, but it is what it is. I was unbelievably impressed with this game. Really, just an amazing game of chess. This is a Spanish. It's a line where white plays a4 and plays kind of peculiar, and then plays knight c3, applying pressure to the queen side. Voluntarily does this to his own bishop, right? And then just breaks out of the position like this. Then now he reactivates his bishop and puts it on b5. And basically, Magnus will try in this game to break apart the queenside because he has more pawns there. And that's called a queenside majority, when the pawn structure has transformed in a way that you have more pawns than they do on a side of the board. The most common one by far is called a queenside majority, when you have castled over here and the pawns are on that side of the board. Now, one thing to consider here is what happens if white manages to break through. Well, I'm going to now click the forward arrow a bunch. Magnus traded those pieces. He does this. Now he has an outside pass pawn. That's literally all he needs. It makes no difference that the position is 0.05. He plays queen b3. Black is equalizing, like his position is not bad at all, but knight g6 was the wrong move. He had to go rook a8 immediately. I don't really understand why, like rook a1, probably he's going to, rook a8 like here, and something like this. Obviously, there was a reason he didn't go rook a8. Didn't like something about that move. Instead, he opts for this, and he loses this pawn. And, well, then this bishop completely blocks this knight out of the game. The knight was brought here for counterplay, or maybe to come back, or maybe mate. Well, just watch as this bishop is put on a square that does not let the knight cross the center of the board at all. The pawn will go here to protect. The pawn will go there. The black rook will be completely stuck on the back rank. Then the second pawn will come. Black has absolutely nothing. It's not even that Magnus is able to win games and end games where he doesn't have any business winning them, and it's just one pawn that he advances and somehow the position is winning. He just, he makes people look ridiculous. Like, Black's position here is already resignable. He played a couple of symbolic moves, and he just surrendered. He just, he cannot move any pieces. The only thing he can do is to move the rook back and forth along the last rank. Okay, of course he can push, but he doesn't have enough time. He plays g5, black plays b5. You can't even take the bishop. h5, b6, g4, b7. Like, you just lose. And he beat Denis Lazavik. Now, the person who he ended up facing in the grand finals was Jan Krzysztof Duda. All right? And he beat him. He beat Magnus. He made it to the final. He beat everybody that he needed to beat. He beat Lazavik, etc. He beat Shant, right? He beat Keymer. And then, as you know, in the esports format, or maybe you don't know, there is something called a grand final and a grand final reset. So the person that wins every match makes it straight to the grand final. And then there is a loser's bracket, okay? And from the loser's bracket emerges the person who then challenges for the grand final. Now, if the guy that's been winning everything wins already, there is no grand final. You don't reset anything. But if the guy from the loser's bracket beats the guy that hasn't lost yet, then they play a grand final reset. I'm explaining esports formats to the people who are probably like 30 and up. I had to learn what this format was. I think most people below that know what it is. Maybe if you're like in your 40s and 50s and love esports, you also know what it is. Yeah, just in case. Anyway, so we show up to the grand final. I'm like, okay, Magnus is going to beat Duda. Duda straight up gave an interview where he said, like, my chances to beat Magnus are like not there. I don't expect to win. I don't know. I mean, yeah. Anyway, and then Magnus plays this. Now, knight a3, Sicilian. Like, we got a Sicilian defense and knight a3. The guy has to nerf himself actively and deliberately play absurd stuff on the board to challenge and stimulate his neurons. If he straight up just played normal chess, nobody would have a chance. Nobody has had a chance for 15 years, and I have no idea how many years he has left, but keep that man in sunlight, eating good protein levels, good sleep, good air quality, playing a lot of golf, low cortisol. He could do this for another 5 to 10 years, for all I care. Now, Duda did set up a nice defense. You see Magnus still manages to get a completely playable position, and actually there's some lines where the king could come here, get off of this diagonal, get off of any, well, that actually would make that worse, but get off of any diagonal threats, and maybe even start a kingside attack. There are some lines where this happens. So I think Magnus has maybe played this line before, but like on another account, or maybe even over the board like some time ago. Gets a completely amazing position from the opening, has the bishop pair. He can start an attack now. Like, Rook h3, queen h4 is screaming to be played. He plays queen h4. He plays queen f2 back. He could have went queen h6. Duda gets a little bit of counterplay here, and Magnus immediately shuts down that side of the board, but his counterplay is still there. And so, sadly, despite playing this really exotic opening, the boys actually make a repetition here with d5 check, knight back to f6, and Magnus here can play rook c3 and rook c5, and actually just has a better position, but they repeat the position and make a draw. Now, the reason the video is still going and Magnus just doesn't win immediately is because despite Duda's best attempt at dropping that interview and sounding like he has no shot, he had plenty of a shot. So they play another game. Magnus here plays whatever on earth this is. Like, really, this is just nonsense. Then he puts his knight on e7. If you are watching at home, do not play chess like this. He is able to. You are not. That is not how you should be developing your pieces, please. And then Duda sacrifices a pawn. I mean, he's had enough of the disrespect. This man throws a pawn forward because no matter how black takes, Duda's going to strike back in the middle. Like, Magnus can take either way, and then Duda's going to play like this. That's exactly what he goes for. Game gets insane immediately. Black spends a minute to castle. Duda spends a minute to move his bishop. Black spends another 25 seconds sacrificing a b-pawn to put both bishops on the b-file where they would be attacked. White develops a knight defending the bishop. Knight to g6, rook b1. Magnus here, this is the most ridiculous move. He just grabs this pawn because he doesn't see any reason he shouldn't. That allows Duda enough time to play d5. And now black is in a lot of trouble. Magnus has to go c4, trying to go c3. Duda plays queen d4. That's a mate. So black goes c3, sacrificing the pawn, trying to win the knight. The bishop goes and takes. This is hanging. Knight takes, queen takes, and it looks like in this position, black is actually doing kind of all right. He's going to activate his light-scored bishop. Apparently, it was better for him to go a5 and try to immediately put his bishop on b4, but he does it like this. Knight c4. Duda plays queen d4. The position is still insanely complicated. Two queens are hanging. You can take the queen. I will take yours back. Magnus goes back to d3. Both guys have 3.5 minutes for the remainder of the game. There is no bonus time in the Esports World Cup format. Magnus lashes out with f5, and now he's taking over the game. Queen back to g3. Bishop d5 required by black. He doesn't play it. Allows the repositioning to the b3 square, or allows this move. I mean, the position is completely nuts. 2.5 minutes to navigate the most unbalanced position. This is there. That's there. That's there. These guys are staring at each other. d7's just hanging. You could take it with either of the pieces. That would be a triple fork, basically. Black goes rook takes b1. That was not the best move. And suddenly, Duda is better, and Magnus is down a whole minute. The bishop goes back to e6. Duda plays rook d1, centralizing and defending his pawn on d6. Queen b7. Now we have h4. The king can get off the back rank, and you also have an attack. But the time is back to where it was. Queen to c3 attacking the bishop. Magnus plays rook c8 defending himself. Duda's just repositioning his pieces looking for some sort of attack. Position is insanely complicated. But knight takes e6 wins the game on the spot. Black's position is going to get totally destroyed here. There's knight e6, then you sack the queen, then you come back to d7. And Duda does not need much time to spot this. Chops it up and is gonna win. He's gonna win. He spent a little bit of time. I think he couldn't quite believe himself. He spent a whole 1.8 seconds. Chop, 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 chop. Spotted that instantly. Wins the game. Okay. Magnus has finally lost. And he's trailing in a match. So let's see what happens. Can he do it a second time? Magnus goes e3. Okay. And then he plays the English. And we have just a very kind of chill position. d5. Duda trades the knights, develops, and castles. Magnus now has to develop as well. He plays bishop b2, knight f3, and bishop d3. There is no e4 because of queen g7 mate. Black develops and develops. We have a very interesting position after 12 moves. Super imbalanced. White can try to put pressure here with d4, put the rooks in the middle. Black is kind of sitting and waiting to see what white is going to do. Black has a great position. He can play h6 and literally play king h8, king g8 the rest of the game. White kind of has to figure out what to do here. Rook e7, d3, rook d8. He's bringing the rooks. Rook c1. Both guys are just making moves. And now we see white is going for something. He's trying to do something with his knight. Duda goes queen e6. Magnus plays knight c4. And there's the counterplay. This is very thematic. Black just can't sit around and do nothing. Queen f7 back, looking to bring the light-scored bishop and also to maybe advance with e4 in some lines. Rook f8, all normal. Both guys are very much feeling the other out, not up. King h8, h3, still kind of waiting. Queen e2, still kind of waiting. And now Magnus grabs the bishop pair and goes for something on the queen side. Except he goes for something on the queen side and black can take and just defend himself. And I think Magnus maybe wanted bishop b7, but a4 hangs in all the lines. And not just a4 hanging. Like, okay, a4 is obviously the cleanest. There's also some positions where, like, you get your bishop locked out like this, and it could be really bad. Here, black can get a massive attack going, and that obviously is very unpleasant. So Duda is going to do exactly that. He's going to start taking over this game. Magnus down on time again. We go to an endgame, but Duda still has a lot of winning chances because he has an extra pawn. Never mind, he no longer has an extra pawn, but we're going to get in a little scramble mode here. Right here, Magnus could have put away the tournament with a fork. Clearly not playing his best at the moment. Duda sacrificing material, launches an attack, and Magnus blunders a one-mover. Well, it's kind of a two-mover. Queen g5, threatened, rook takes bishop. It doesn't look like it, but it does, because after queen g2, you have queen h4 check. So white here needed to play rook e2. And the best player in the world spent 20 seconds, blundered it, and didn't just blunder. This just completely loses the game, because after this, you can even trade the queen. So it's not just a blunder a little bit, it's a blunder a lot of it. King here, g5 here, king g6. This is a losing endgame for white. You simply will not be able to both defend your pawn and stop me from promoting. It's just not possible. So Duda actually ended up winning the match. So he wins and we have a grand final reset. And for the however manyth time that Magnus Carlsen has been playing chess and losing at random moments in a match, and you think, oh, there we go. Finally, he's losing some games. He did the thing. He did the thing. It's like the guy sitting in front of the TV, and then he leaned in. Yeah, I told you, if he starts playing regular chess, it's basically a wrap for everybody, and that's exactly what happened. So, Magnus in this game played a completely normal opening. Okay, he played like a symmetrical queen's pawn. This is a line that has been played many times in classical chess, and we have the following structure from the opening. White's ideas include queen e2, rook d1, or rook e1, and then putting something on e5, and some various attacking ideas. You can also drop the bishop back and play queen d3. So Magnus in this game chooses rook e1, bishop c2, dropping back the bishop to maybe move the queen. Black goes for counterplay with his b-pawn. Magnus plays queen d3 anyway, because he's threatening to take the knight and then checkmate his opponent. g6, puts the knight on a4, clearly looking to exploit some dark squares, maybe take, maybe knight c5, and rook to d1. Black goes takes, plays knight d5, and Magnus plays bishop h6, because now he gets the initiative. Something called the initiative in chess is this mysterious term, but initiative is basically a series of moves that create threats, but simultaneously improve your position. It's like when you generate momentum, right? So here you get this and this. Now black has a difficult decision. Does he give away his light squared bishop, or does he trade the dark squared bishop for the knight? He goes here. Magnus plays rook c1. Now there's a queen on the c file and a rook on the c file, and he's going to move his light squared bishop, and when he moves it to a4, he's threatening knight b7. So black has to play like this, and now he moves the bishop to a4, threatening all sorts of knight takes pawn, knight takes bishop, this type of business. Rook d8. Now he plays h4. While black has committed all the forces defending over here, h4, h5 is still there, looking to soften up this position, or maybe play g3 and knight g5. We have knight back to b6, removing a knight from the center of the board, but hitting the bishop. Bishop b3. He actually was winning there. He could have went knight takes e6. Completely vicious move. Knight e6. And the overwhelming piece majority here would have caused this position to be fatal for black. Black just doesn't have the resources. After bishop to f8, you can win the game with rook takes c6. Bishop takes c6. And actually, I thought maybe bishop takes c6. But then this is hanging. So rook takes c6. And now you win because you have two extra pieces. You have one extra piece, and queen b3 check is always there to win the second one. If black does something like this, king h8, you can take, and you win. Anyway, he went here, and it's not going to get any easier as the attack just simply rages on. Duda finally does this, but the rook is hitting everything. Black is struggling. Magnus takes, locks the center of the board, plays queen e3, still looking to attack. The bishop is still butt cheeks. Rook b6, hits the pawn, hits the knight. Black is scrambling here, and he ends up just simply blundering. I mean, this was, of all the games I showed you, This was really the game where the sensei kind of chuckles after getting struck in a sparring session and is like, hey. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like all that for a drop of blood, right? Like that's that's like the Thanos thing, you know? It's just, I mean, the dude played a complete positional masterpiece. And I have covered like thousands of his games. The ability to like find this move, force a weakness on the dark squares, infiltrate that weakness, then put the rook, then pressure the queen side. As black is scrambling to defend the queen side, you make some weaknesses on the other side of the board. As you do that, you then still go back and target that bishop. You make your opponent tie their shoes together, and you simply win the game. I mean, it's just, this is the same guy who won a game with one pawn. This guy just like, it's like a superpower. His eyes glow and all the pieces suddenly turn really sharp and pointed at you and they just fly. Or he's like wounded on the battlefield, taking his last breath, and then he just summons like one thing and that's it. I mean, and of course the second game just, you know, here he needed to defend himself. His opponent was attacking him. Duda, he played a very aggressive Italian game. Magnus played very solidly. He just has to kind of stabilize. He played solid, and then here he played very creative. So he played knight h7, bishop f6, knight g5. Definitely took some liberties. No longer playing solid. No longer, you know, e4, e5, and kind of boring and wait the opponent out. Really baiting Duda to come forward. And come forward he did, because in this game, he took in the middle, allowed the move f4, went back with his knight. Duda re-centralized the knight, and now is threatening f5 ideas and e5 ideas. Magnus went d takes c3 because he has to grab another pawn just to, like, not be lost. And then he went bishop h4. And the move bishop h4 is extremely underrated. And if you had the patience and the attention span to watch 32 minutes of a chess video, you will now be rewarded, because this man Magnus doesn't even have to win this game. He already has a one-game lead in this match. He invited Duda to play the move f5. And the reason why this move is so cool is because black can play this and this, and then take and get a pawn, a bishop, and a knight for a queen, which is not a lot of material. But when you play against the queen, having a lot of pieces really helps. There is no way to attack this king. It will go here, and then black will go here and just solidify every part of the position, and the queen is not useful. Magnus could have done that. He could have done it now. He sets it up for one more move, but here Duda didn't know what to do. He could have played knight f3. If knight f3, there would have been takes, and that would have happened. He would have forced Magnus into this position, down a queen, and yet with a better position. And that would have been a really amazing way to go out. Instead of that, Duda actually plays quite well, despite, you know, not entering this line. But he mismanages his time. 2 minutes on this move, doesn't choose the best way, but then he regains his composure, continues to launch devastating intentions at the black king, knight back to h2, sacrifices material, creates a passed pawn, weakens Magnus's queenside, but his time is ticking to 0. And because of that, even though he actually gets a very good position, Magnus fights back, makes it complicated, creates a little bit of counterplay against the white king somehow. Rook a8, knight e5. The thing about being the best player in the world is you don't just win with a pawn up endgame or positional masterpiece, you don't lose. All the best athletes, when they're having bad days, they still find a way to not lose. And in chess, what happens when you don't lose is you win. Because here, maybe there are some chances for white to make a draw, but he can't, you know, he has to keep playing. He actually ends up getting some chances in this endgame, but he has 8 seconds. And his time runs out. Magnus wins the Chess.com Open. And I'm about to read you a list. And if I got this wrong, I do apologize. But I did try to do some research before I made this video. Norway Chess, June 2024, was the last time Magnus played the regular chess format of standard pieces, not freestyle, and he finished the tournament. And I say finished the tournament because in 2024 World Rapid Championship, he didn't play enough games. There was Gene's Gate. Now, you could argue I'm cherry picking, and like I already said, I would respect that argument. He won the Speed Chess Championship 2024. He won the next online tournament, Julius Baer Generation Cup. He won the Champions Chess Tour. He won, he didn't win the World Rapid Championship, but he won the World Blitz Championship. Then he won the Chessable Masters. He won the Chess.com Classic. He won Norway Chess. He won the Super United Croatia Rapid and Blitz. He won the entire Esports World Cup. He won Clutch Chess. He won the World Rapid. He won the World Blitz. He won the Speed Chess Championship 2026 finale, and he won this tournament. Yo, this man has won every tournament that he has played and finished for 688 days. This is a very underrated streak. Like, in a time of online, offline, he's winning the 3 and 1 and 5 minute tournament, the 10-minute tournament. What he really wants, he'll win the long tournament. The only tournaments he's not winning is when they scramble his pieces. That's the only tournament that he cannot consistently win, and he still won. He is still the world champion. He didn't win some of those tournaments, but he won the world championship, like the literal world championship that happened in February of this year. Yo, this is bananas. And he has more tournaments coming up. He's playing another one. He's playing in Malmö, Sweden. Hey! And then he's going to play in Norway Chess. And then hopefully he just keeps playing because it's fantastic. This dude is too good. Too freaking good. That's all I have for you today. And the #1 destination for Magnus Carlsen PR is signing off. Get out of here.